All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back. Continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week's Torah portion, we will be looking at Deuteronomy 11 verse 26 through the end of the chapter, and chapter 12, just the first 4 verses we'll look at over there. 11:26 through 12 verse 4. And this week's Torah portion is Behold. 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 All right, so we will get right into it. I'll pull up here the verses here. We'll just read through the portion, and then we will go back and discuss. Hopefully we'll have plenty of class participation. Let me go ahead and pull up for us the chapter here. Deuteronomy 11. All right, and go ahead and read for us. Hold on, let me put it on the screen here. Go ahead and start reading there at verse 26.
And it says, See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, when you obey the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other mighty ones, which you have not known. And it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim, and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, toward the setting sun, in the land of the Canaanites, who dwell in the desert plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Moreh? For you are passing over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, and you shall possess it and dwell in it, and shall guard to do all the laws and right rulings which I am setting before you today.
Okay, very good. And let's just go ahead now and read 12.
1 through 4 says, These are the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land which Yahweh Elohim of your fathers is giving you to possess. All the days that you live on the soil, completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are dispossessing served their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall break down their slaughtered places, and smash their pillars, and burn their asherim with fire, and you shall cut down the carved images of their mighty ones, and shall destroy their name out of that place. Do not do so to Yahweh your Elohim.
Okay, very good. So let us go back. A few things we want to look at over here. Go back over here to chapter 11. We want to begin by looking over here at verse 26. Let me pull up for us our tools here so that we're able to see a few things here. All right, we want to begin and look at this word here. It's translated here in the scriptures version as see. The King James translates it as behold. This word here is ra'ah. Ra'ah, which literally means to see. It's interesting when we look down at this word here, we see things like to make, so make to enjoy or to have experience, gaze, to look upon one another. But primarily this word literally means to see or behold. It's interesting when we look at this, pay attention to what we see here, ra'ah, this word here, ra'ah. If we go over to this here, if we go over and look at the Hebrew here, and we see here, this also says here, ra'ah, ra'ah. Oh, yes, yes. Yes, when we look at the Tetragrammaton, the hey also gives you the idea of behold, behold. But over here, we see another kind of use of the thought to behold or to see or to experience. This over here, ra'ah, this also says ra'ah here. And this here is a bird of prey. A bird of prey, probably a vulture or something that has these sharp eyes. We think about like an eagle or something that soars up in the skies, you know, catching the wind in its wings as it looks down with its keen eyesight. And it looks down and it sees its prey, and then it swoops down and experiences the prey, right? This thing that has this superb eyesight that sees a thing from afar, you know, it stares at this thing, it looks at this thing, it decides how it's going to approach, and in this case for the bird of prey to attack this thing, and as it sees it, it don't just look at it, right? Because if it all it was going to do was view it, if all it was going to do was just look at this thing as being this bird of prey, you know, it's not going to get his belly full just by looking at something, right? And so it has to not only be able to see these things from afar, but eventually it has to have the ability to swoop down and actually experience this thing, right? It has to come down and experience the thing. And so when we think about this word here, ra'ah, it gives you the idea of not only looking at and viewing and seeing, or how the translators give us the idea of beholding, but also to come and get a closer look and experience and become one with the thing. And so when we see over here in 26, when it says see, it's not just requiring for the people to look, but this is, a type of a declaration. It is a command. It is instruction to not only see, but come and experience and become one with these things that I am setting before you today. Right? These things that I'm giving you, these things that I'm appointing to you, these things that I am assigning to you. This word here is Natan, right? These things that I'm giving, assigning, appointing, adding, putting, bestowing upon you in your face, right? It says setting before you. Panim is in the face of, right? Is in your face. Behold, become experienced with, intimately, with these things that I'm going to give you. These are important things that I want you to consider. Right? And so when we see this over here, this see, this behold, he's given the people a choice. And it should be an obvious choice, right? When you look and understand what it is you're dealing with. And again, he's calling for you to, in fact, understand what it is you're dealing with, because he's using this word to see, ra'ah, right? To experience. He's causing you, even when we just only see this here word, see, or ra'ah in the Hebrew, he's causing you to intentionally consider what it is that's being spoken, right? Not just some external thought, right? But really think about these things, because again, these things are very important, right? What are these things? What is it that he's causing, that he is wanting for these people to actually consider? A blessing and a curse. A blessing and a curse. All right, so let's look at this over here. A blessing. What exactly is a blessing? Right? When we see this word over here, what is it telling us? Barakah. Barakah. It's giving us these words here. Benediction. Prosperity, blessing, liberal, consent. We have here word study. Blessing, general idea of the word is one of good favor. A word of good favor being bestowed on another. A blessing. We also see over here this word benediction, right? Benediction, if we were to look at that word, means well speaking, right? And so when we think about the idea of a blessing or well speaking, the act of blessing or pronouncing good favor over a thing, right? We think about the idea of the Aharonic blessing, right? You're pronouncing the divine favor over the hearers of this blessing, right? And so over here, Moshe is asking for the people over here to understand the idea of a blessing and a curse, right? Even just the idea of it, what it means, what goes along with a blessing and a curse. We think about blessing; it could be more than just a declaration or a wish of happiness that's being pronounced. We also see prophetic blessings, right? When we think about when Israel, blessed his children, right? When he gives the prophetic utterances over, his children. We think about the idea of Jacob and Esau and the blessing that was given out over there, right? When we understand that there was, we think about Jacob and Esau, there was kind of two aspects to, what happened over there in terms of the birthright and the blessing, right? And so when we think about, the difference, between the two, the birthright and the blessing, Esau, he sells his birthright, right? He sells his right of birth, right? He sells this thing that you would think would be this kind of intangible thing, which is, he was born first, right? And so he sells the birthright to his brother for this soup, and then the holder of the birthright deserves then the blessing, right? He's the one that gets the blessing, and so for whatever reason he wasn't putting those two things together and still kind of wanted his blessing, even though he gave away his birthright. But again, the blessing that was given was this prophetic utterance, right? This thing that had to do with kind of the nature of who the people, the generations after Jacob and Esau, would be. And the same thing is when we think about, again, the 12 tribes, the blessings that was associated with, their names. Again, these things that were these prophetic pronouncements of the favor of Elohim, or dealing with the characteristics that will follow, a particular tribe or what have you. And so when we think about this idea of a blessing, it's this when we think about, what it is, it can include the prophetic. It can include these, hopeful, positive words. And, when we think about typically in the context of what the Most High will do, he gives a literal description of what he will provide, what positive thing he will provide for you. So, for instance, when we think about the blessings that are connected with Israel as a result of Israel's obedience when, we entered into the land. He talks about all of the things the literal things that will come, a literal description of the things that will come and follow those that are obedient to the word. And so it's not just like happy thoughts, like, blessing you could be, have a wonderful day and may the Most High be with you today, right? That could be a blessing. But also when we think about the way in which the Most High also uses these blessings, he's literally saying if you follow after these words, these laws, statutes, and commandments that I give you, everything that you do is going to be positive. Right? Things are going to work out in your favor. You're going to plant in your vineyards, and the vineyards are going to grow. Right? You're going to go into this land that's flowing with milk and honey, and you're going to fully experience all of the milk and all of the honey. Right? And so when we think about the just the idea of a blessing, right? It's kind of multi-faceted, where it could deal with the idea of just saying a nice thing to an individual, or it could also deal with, as I said, this prophetic utterance. You are literally casting goodwill upon someone. All right, so let's look at a couple of scriptures over here. Let's go over to Isaiah, Yeshayahu. Isaiah 44. Let's read, might as well read 1. We're looking at 2 and 3. You might as well just read 1 with it. Hold on, let me just make this bigger here. Go ahead and start at verse 1.
But now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus said Yahweh, who made you and formed you from the womb, who helps you. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant, and Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I pour water on the thirsty, and the floods on the dry ground. I pour my spirit on your seed, and my blessing on your offspring.
Okay, very good. So if we just start down here and look at verse 3 over here, where look at what's being said over here. For I pour water on the thirsty, and floods on the dry ground. Right? We're talking about the good things that are being bestowed upon the needy. Right? The one that's thirsty, there's water poured on. Right? These dry grounds, these grounds that are dry and absent of water, there's floods poured upon them, right? And your seed, speaking of Israel, your seed, my spirit, right? And then we see this, and my blessing on your offspring, as if there's this over here, things ain't blessings, right? It's interesting the way that the Hebrew language operates. You would think like, the way we talk about things, if we say there's going to be this, that, and that, it's kind of like sometimes we could think about it in a way where, there's a separation where you're getting all of these things. But in the context of this verse over here, all of these things are blessings, right? All of these things are blessings from the Most High, right? But the interesting thing is that's here, but not explicit, is that Yeshurun here is the one that's receiving the blessing. Right? Thus says Yahweh, who made you and formed you from the womb, who helps you. Do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, and Yeshurun, who I have chosen. Right? Again, and it's interesting because it's as if we're dealing with different people over here. But when we talk about Israel or Yaakov and Yeshurun, all of these is Israel.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when we look at Yeshurun, the upright ones, this is, something that I, talk about. This is Israel in its truest and finest spiritual form. Yeshurun, right? When you think about Yaakov, obviously, that's dealing with the physical, the supplanter, right? He's the one who's physically driven, Yaakov. Yisrael is the one who strives. He strives for that spiritual connection. So he's kind of in the middle. He's in the process. But Yeshurun is that truly upright one. And so this upright one then is the one who receives the blessing. So just like how we seen over there in Deuteronomy, where it talks about the fact that the ones who actually do my commands will be blessed. Right? And so we see this throughout the scripture, this idea of these things that the Most High will do, that he has done, that he continues to do for his people when we walk according to his ways. Let's look at see this little arrow. Let's go over to the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 24. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, go ahead.
A wise man shall be filled with blessing, and all they that see him shall count him happy.
Okay, very good. So a wise man shall be filled with blessing. Again, we think about the idea of those that receive a blessing from the Most High. These things are, there's things that we have to understand that are said but not said. When we think about the idea of a wise man from a scriptural standpoint, wisdom being the right application of knowledge. And so when we think about the idea of what it actually even means to be a wise man, he's going to be one that is walking in the character of the Almighty. He's going to be one who's actually doing the things that the Most High finds pleasing in his sight. And so when we see over there where it talks about that idea of a wise man shall be filled with blessing, this is just saying the same thing that we see throughout the scriptures. When we have ourselves to be aligned with the character of the Almighty, blessings follow. Mm-hmm. Blessings follow. The Hebrew language is poetry in its purest form. Yes, it's interesting, when we look at this Hebrew language, it is, in fact, just from a language standpoint. And then also when you think about the way in which these writers, these inspired writers used the language, it's something that we don't always think about. The way in which, these are, when we think about the scripture, of course, is, inspired text. In other words, the writer is writing from the unctioning of the Ruach HaKodesh. But not only that, but we have to acknowledge the human element as well. And so the Most High is wanting for a specific thought to come forth, and then we also have to think about the way in which the hearer of the Spirit is bringing that thought forth. And a lot of times we don't think about the poeticness of what's being brought forth by the writer. And we miss some of these things when we don't think about the actual, when we don't take it back to the language to see. Because again, we started off talking about this idea of beholding these thoughts, beholding blessings and curses, and understanding that this is way more than just, seeing, right? It always is, right? It's never one dimensional. We think about the Most High when He calls for us to hear Him, that's not one dimensional, right? When He causes for us to see as well, it's not something that's one dimensional, right? It's multifaceted, right? And so the Hebrew language is indeed a interesting thing over here. And so let's keep on going over here, because Moshe wanted for us to not only behold a blessing, but he also wanted for us to have an understanding, a intimate knowledge of curses, right? He didn't only want for us to understand what a blessing was, but he also wanted for us to be able to understand what exactly a curse is. And so let's go back. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 11, looking at our verse here, 26. Here's our word here, which is kelala. 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 Okay? Which is vilification, which is curse or cursed or cursing, right? And so it's not necessarily how we think about as far as today, as far as cursing, like curse words. Just like when we think about the idea of what a blessing is, invoking this positive affirmation or prophetic utterance, a curse is this invocation of evil or injury against another. Right? It's this invocation of evil or injury against someone else, right? A curse, right? When we think about, when we think about curses, you think about some of the way in which the pagans, the heathen people, they had these little things that they do, with their little, their little dolls and their little curses that they put on people. When we think about Balak and Balaam, how he wanted for Balaam to put a curse on Israel, right? He wanted for the people that the Most High had called blessed, he wanted for there to be an invocation of evil against them, right? And so when we think about, the way in which, here, let's look at Let's go over to. Let's go back to the scriptures again. Let's take it back to the scriptures. Let's go over to Judges. Let's look at Judges. What's it saying? Judges 17. 1 and 2.
Says, and there was a man from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Mikahu. And he said to his mother, the 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, and on which you put a curse, even saying it in my ears, look, the silver is with me. I took it. And the mother said, blessed of Yahweh be my son.
Okay, it's interesting. We look over here, we see that there was a curse on. It says that was a curse on these silvers, right? 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, on which you put a curse, right? So there was a curse that this mother had put on these pieces of silver. And so we see that it's interesting that the son ends up with the silver, and then his mother then reverses it. Right? She reverses this curse with a blessing. Right? And his mother said, blessed of Yahweh be my son. Right? So it's interesting that we look and see that, there was this curse that was put on these things that were, I don't know if they were taken or stolen or what have you, but the curse was retracted, right? There was a blessing that countered the curse. We look in other places in the scriptures where, according to the law, you wasn't able to curse your parents. You wasn't able to invoke evil declarations against your parents. Let's look over at Exodus 21. What is verse... and it's very serious, too. Verse 17.
Says, and he put curses... And he who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death.
It's the death penalty. The death penalty for you to have an invocation of evil against your parents. You put to death. It's crazy. This word over here is interesting. This word again, let's see here. 17 is our word. 7043. This word, the root here is kalal, which is to make light, right? Or to bring into contempt. So when we think about the idea of this word kalal, which is translated as curse, it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of the opposite of glory, right? It's the opposite of, when we think about what it is that the Most High calls for us to do to our parents, is to cause their words, them to be honorable or heavy, right? And so the opposite of heavy, of course, is to make light. And so we're supposed to put great consideration in that which comes from our parents, and in fact, our parents in and of themselves. And so to not do that would be to make them light, right? To have a light consideration of what it is that your parents say.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, we think about this idea of the importance of, cursing your father or your mother. The idea of Israel actually being able to be sustained throughout the generations by the parents being able to pass the knowledge, the wisdom down to their children.
Mm-hmm.
And for their children to take this thing that has been given to them under great consideration, right? And causing it to be heavy in their minds and not light, not a thing that they could just take and just throw away. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about the idea of the importance of children cursing their father and mother and them actually being put to death, because when such a thing would happen, you're literally diminishing the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're literally causing the continuation of the people to cease when you don't take your father and mother into great consideration. And again, we're speaking about the idea of Israel functioning in its proper and purposed way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this word to curse, being this light thing as opposed to a weighty, heavy thing. We think about Numbers. We think about Numbers chapter 5 when we deal with the jealous husband, right? When the jealous husband, he allows for his adulterous wife to be cursed, right? His adulterous wife, the one who's found to be adulteress. Let's see here. Read 19 through 21.
It says, "And the priest shall make her swear and say to the woman, if no man has lain with you, and you have not turned aside to uncleanness under your husband's authority, be free from this bitter water that brings a curse."
Right, the water's going to bring a curse if you're a liar. Right? Then it's going to bring a curse if you're a liar. But if you don't, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Keep on going.
"But if you have turned aside under your husband's authority, and if you have defiled yourself, and some man other than your husband has lain with you, then the priest shall make the woman swear with the oath of the curse, and he shall say to the woman, Yahweh make you a curse and an oath among your people, when Yahweh makes your thigh waste away and your belly swell."
Okay, very good. So we see over here, again, we're looking at the functionality of a blessing or a curse, right? You're saying these happy blessings, these happy benedictions, hopeful utterances, or these negative invocations of evil against somebody as judgment, right? This is a case of judgment where you have the person who, again, has stepped outside of the confines of the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is simply a judgment for doing so, right? And so when we look over here, at these different instances of these curses, where this is a thing, this is not just bad things that are said, right? But this is something that the Most High literally caused for, these judgments, these plagues even, to fall upon the adulterous wife. And so again, just like when we looked at the blessings, we see that the curse is being on the opposite side of this over here, of those that don't walk according to the will of the Most High. There's going to be consequences that follow these people. Let's look at Psalms. Psalm 137. Read for us 5 and 137, 5 and 6.
If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget. Let my tongue cleave to my palate. If I do not remember you, if I do not exalt Jerusalem above my chief joy.
Okay, very good. So here, the writer is pronouncing a curse upon his own self if he fails to walk in a way that's pleasing to the Most High. Right? If I forget you, let my right hand forget. In other words, the hand of his strength, right? The thing that some people are left-handed, right? But the idea, the thought behind your right hand is your hand of strength. And so if he forgets Yerushalayim, he also wants to have his strength be forgotten. Right? He also don't want to be able to even speak. He wants his tongue to be attached to his palate. If he forgets Yerushalayim. Right? If I do not exalt Yerushalayim above my chief joy. And so again, we're looking over here, again, the psalmist is pronouncing a potential curse upon his own self if he was to begin to forget the blessings that the Most High brings about. Another thing that we could look at in terms of this idea of curses, let's look over at Isaiah. Isaiah 5. Let's just read some of these here. Start at verse 8 here.
It says, woe to those who join house to house, who add field to field, until there is no room, and you are made to dwell alone in the midst of a land.
Okay, when we think about these woes, right, this over here is another word. However, we're talking about the idea of a pronounced judgment over those that are not functioning properly, right? So the idea of what's going on with these woes is the same thing as a curse, right? This word over here is another word, is this hoi, right? Which is or alas or or woe, right? Read verse 11.
11 says, woe to those who rise early in the morning, pursuing strong drink, who stay up late at night. Wine inflames them.
Right. So again, thinking about what's happening in the context, woe to this person who's doing this thing that's outside of wisdom. Right. These things are outside of wisdom. Right. Woe to these people. Let's look over at Matthew. Look at the book of Matthew. Matthew 23. Start reading at verse 13.
13 says, "But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut up the rain of the heavens before men, for you do not go in, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in."
Yeah, 14.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you eat up widows' houses, and for a show make long prayers. Because of this you shall receive greater judgment.
Okay, again, so we see Yeshua over here with these woes that he's given to these scribes and these Pharisees, saying that they're hypocrites, and he's pronouncing then these judgments, this language. It's a language of cursing to these people who are acting outside of the character of the Most High. Mm-hmm. And so, when you think about, again, this idea of these curses that are going forth, these pronouncements of evil against those that are, again, not functioning according to the will and the way, again, it's the same as when we think about the blessing, but of course the opposite, right? This is this pronouncement of evil wishes and judgment. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting when we think about the idea of blessings and cursing in terms of understanding what these things are. Hey, let's look over here at Psalms 37 verse, read for us 22.
22 says, "For his blessed ones..."
Here, let's read actually 21 and 22.
It says, "The wrongdoer is borrowing and does not repay, but the righteous one shows favor and gives. For his blessed ones inherit the earth, but those cursed by him are cut off."
Okay, very good. So, again, we think about this idea of blessings and cursings, right? And so the scriptures, we don't think about the importance, I don't think, in these days and times of blessings and cursings, right? We don't think about necessarily these things, which actually come out of our mouths. It was literally part of the culture over here, pronouncing blessings over those that were, our children, right? Pronouncing blessings over our people, pronouncing curses over our enemies, right? And actually not mixing the two. Right, not pronouncing curses over our people and our family and our children, right? Well, unless they were receiving judgment, right? But let's look over at James 3. Yeah, James 3 a little bit here. Talking about. Start reading verse 1.
It says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, knowing that we shall receive greater judgment. For we all stumble in many matters. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle the entire body. Look, we put bits in the mouths of horses for them to obey us, and we turn their body. Look at the ships too. Although they are so big and are driven by strong winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot intends. So too the tongue is a little member, yet boasts greatly. See how a little fire kindles a great forest.
Yeah, so we look over here and we see, the way the writer is speaking over here in terms of, he starts out talking about this ability for somebody who, if anyone doesn't stumble in word, right, he's perfect. He's a perfect man, right? Being able to bridle his entire body. This little thing that we have, this mouth that we have, this little tongue thing that we have, if we're able to control this thing, right? We're able to bridle the entire body and actually be able to be whole as a body, right? And so he gives, of course, these examples of a horse, right, and a ship, right? And so we see over here in this small little fire, right, with a small little fire that destroys a whole forest, right, from this thing that starts so small but has so much power, right? The tongue, right? Your speech. Keep on reading verse 6.
It says, and the tongue is a fire, the world of unrighteousness. Among our members, the tongue is set, the one defiling the entire body and setting on fire the wheel of life. And it is set on fire by Gehinnom. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and creature of the sea, is tamed and has been tamed by mankind. But no man is able to tame the tongue. It is unruly, evil, filled with deadly poison.
Wow, that's crazy right there. The tongue can no man tame. It's unruly and evil and full of deadly poison. Okay, so if we just stop right there, we're totally defeated, right? We're totally defeated and destroyed because he said there's no man that's able to tame the tongue. This little thing in our body that's able, if it is controlled, we're perfect. Right? He started off saying if we control it, if we don't stumble in words, we're perfect. But then we get down to verse 8, he says over here, no man's able to tame the tongue. I guess nobody could be perfect because this thing is unruly, evil, and filled with deadly poison. This tongue. Oh, what's this verse over here? Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Yes, very good. The same idea is what we're looking at over here. The same place. Oh, we didn't read it yet. Keep on reading down over here. 9 and 10.
With it we bless our Elohim and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the likeness of Elohim. Out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing. My brothers, this should not be so.
Okay, so it's interesting over here now. Okay, so again, when we look over here at verse 8, no man's able to tame the tongue. Verse 10, blessings and cursings come out of the same mouth. But my brothers, he says, this should not be so. So if you're causing yourself not to be able to have both blessings and cursings come out of the same mouth, then you must be taming your mouth then. He says this thing over in verse number 9, with it we bless Elohim, our Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the likeness of Elohim. Right? He's saying something that, we should, I guess cursing those that shouldn't be being cursed. Right? Taming our tongues. He's saying this should not be so. Right? This should not be so. Continue.
It says, does the fountain send forth the sweet and the bitter from the same opening?
Well, he's asking a question, but it's rhetorical. The answer is no, right? Right? You got one or the other coming out. Mm-hmm. What's the other? What's in that?
My brothers, is a fig tree able to bear olives or a grapevine of figs? So neither is a fountain able to make salt and sweet water.
Okay, very good. So again, we're looking at this. Here, read. That's 11, 12. Yeah. And so again, when we look at, what he's saying over here, he's not saying that this is this impossible thing, right? What he is saying is that you need to take control of this thing, right? Because in fact, the ability of death and life is in fact in the power of the tongue. And so we need to be able to use wisdom in the things that we say, that we allow to proceed out of our mouths, because of the fact that these things, blessings and cursings, are in fact very important. Right? That's what Moses is trying to get the people to even understand before he even says anything. Behold, I am setting before you today blessing and cursing. Right? And until we understand what it is that he's talking about and understand the words that he's using, we don't really even understand the weightiness of it all. To begin with, he hasn't even said anything before he said in verse 26, behold, I'm setting before you today blessing and a curse. Mm-hmm. He wants for us to first just even understand the gravity of a blessing and a curse. He wants us to understand the weightiness of a blessing and a curse. We have to understand that sometimes we might be sitting up here cursing folks, by the way in which we're speaking to them. What verse is this here? Matthew. Let's see what we have here. Matthew 5. Oh, that's Mark. Matthew 5. Oh, this is good. Okay, read 43 through 48.
You heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those cursing you. Do good to those hating you. And pray for those insulting you and persecuting you, so that you become sons of your Father in the heavens. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too? Therefore, be perfect, as your Father in the heavens is perfect.
He said, therefore be perfect. He said, be perfect, because your Father's perfect. So then you should be perfect. But what does that mean if we think about being perfect? According to what we just was looking at over here in James in chapter, what was that, chapter 3? What verse 2 say again?
It says, "For we all stumble in many matters. If anyone does not stumble in a word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle the entire body."
Okay, so Yeshua said to be perfect, and then James says being perfect is you bridling your tongue. Then should we bridle our tongue then? Seem like it. Seem like we should. And it seems like we should be able to do it, right? It's not even an impossible thing, right? Because Yeshua said, be you perfect. And so again, we look at this again, the idea of blessings and cursings, the connection between blessings and, being aligned with what it is that the Most High will have you to be doing, and curses being for those that are not walking according to the ways that the Most High, is calling for us to do. It's interesting that when we look at these verses over here, it again is continuing with this idea that the things that come out of our mouth is in fact very important, and it matters, and we should have control over that which comes out of our mouths, because these things are not just it's not just vain speech, right? And so if we go back to Deuteronomy 11 and 27, he says, read verse 27. Actually, read 27 and 28.
The blessing when you obey the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you today, and the curse if you do not obey the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other mighty ones which you have not known.
Okay, very good. So we see over here now, you could get a blessing if you obey the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, the things that he's commanded you today. But he also said you could get a curse if you do not listen to the commands of Yahweh your Elohim. It's interesting the amount of if-then statements that we find in scriptures. It's kind of amazing. There's certainly enough there to understand that the Most High requires something from us so that we're able to receive from him. Like, we got to know that the Most High is not just giving out his blessings for nothing. Right? Again, we just look at what he says right here. You could get a blessing. There's a blessing that's waiting for you if you obey my commands. And there's a curse waiting for you if you don't obey my commands, right? The Most High is not giving the blessing to the ones who's not obeying his commands, right? He's not doing that. Right? Those two things don't go together. Let's look over at Proverbs 2. Read for us, let's see, 1 through 5. We're talking about the if-thens in the scriptures. Let's see some of these if-thens. Yeshua just, Yahweh ain't just giving out stuff for nothing. Right? There's an if and there's a then. All right, read 1 through 5.
My son, if you accept my words and treasure up my commands with you, so that you make your ear attend to wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. For if you cry for discernment, lift up your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver, and search for her as hidden treasures, then you would understand the fear of Yahweh and find the knowledge of Elohim.
Okay, very good. So when we think about this thing over here, verse 5, this then part, we got to get 1 through 4 before we even get to 5, right? If we want to have the fear of Yahweh, if we want to find the knowledge of Elohim, the scriptures is telling us these things that we got to do so that we can get those things. The ifs that are attached to the then are great. First, you got to accept my words and treasure up my commands with you, right? The things that the parent over here is given to the child is being stored up, right? You're taking the thing. Like, just think about how you store up a thing, right? You're taking the thing, you take it, you put it somewhere where it's safe, right? Where it's safe, where nobody could get to it but you, right? You know where it's at. Can't nobody take it, right? That's this thing that's a treasure. First of all, you're considering it a certain kind of a way. If you're thinking of it as a treasure, right? A treasure could be anything depending on, the person, right? If to me, I could look at this simple little teacup, and to me, this thing is a treasure, right? Because I think of it as such, right? But it's the way in which I think about the thing, right? But over here, we're talking about the commands, right? We're talking about wisdom, right? And so you're considering these things a certain way first, right? And treasuring these things up. You're accepting them, right? First, you got to accept it first before it can even be a treasure to you. I got this thing that I want to give to you, but are you accepting it? Do you take the thing? What's that word mean? If thou wilt receive my words. What's this word here? Lakach, to take, to bring, to buy, to carry away, to draw, fetch, get, enfold, mingle, receive, right? So you got to take these things first, right? And then not only take it, but you're treasuring these commands that we're giving you, right? So that you make your ear to attend to wisdom, right? And so this is a whole process right over here. We think about this right here. This is a whole process to make your ear attend to wisdom, right? You're getting your mind right and ready to be able to even accept what this word mean here. What do it mean to attend to wisdom? Because whatever that is, you got to make your ear do that before you even get to the then part. We're talking about if-thens, right? There's a process. If you do this, that, and the other thing, the 4-step process, then you can fear Yahweh and understand Elohim. But first thing he says to incline your ear, make your ear Oh, incline it. So this got to be the word here. Incline it. You got to kashab it to prick up the ears. That is hearken. Right? I got to get my ears ready. What you said? What was that? Like, I'm paying attention. Like, I talk to people sometimes. You talk to people and they not inclining their ears to you. They just paying attention to whatever it is that they doing. Right? But it's talking about you inclining thine ear to wisdom. Right? Again, this is a process. This is a process that you got to be doing. Right? Inclining your ear to wisdom. Mm-hmm. But not only are you inclining your ear to wisdom, but you're inclining your heart to understanding. There's an internal process that's going on as you accept the words, as you treasure the commands, as you attend your ear to wisdom, as you incline your heart to understanding. All of things are going on. These are the ifs that lead up to the then. If you're not doing the ifs, you can't get to the end. To the then part. Right? Mm-hmm. And so again, we're talking about these blessings if you do this. And these curses if you do that. Mm-hmm. The Most High is all about if-thens. Mm-hmm. He's all about it. People want the then, but you ain't never did the if part. How you gonna get to the then without the if? You can't.
People lazy. People just want things to be dropped on them. I'm blessed. My God just blessed me. I don't gotta do nothing. Or no, they'll just say this guy believe. Well, but your belief is action. Like what's that? The biggest example people always use. The laws of the land. When you in your car and the light turn red, you believe that if you don't stop, you going to possibly get hit. So you stop in fear of not being harmed.
Yeah.
But you had to. It's an action. You believed it. It was an action that took place.
Yeah.
You just be like,
I just heard a terrible story. This guy at work was telling me that, he got hit. He was riding his motorcycle and got hit by a lady who ran a red light. Mm. And, he got his whole leg twisted around because, he dropped his bike down to stop himself from running into her car. And he said she got out talking about, it's just so good that you didn't run into the car. Mm. Meanwhile, he said his leg turned all the way around. Like it's turned all the way around. He got pins in his bones to this day.
Wow.
About a red light.
Yeah. Yep.
These are things that have consequences. These laws are put in place, and when we don't follow the laws, there's consequences that come as a result of not following them. If then, it's mathematics. Mm-hmm. It's if this, then that. The world looks at the prosperity of the wicked and calls it blessings. King Daud said, I looked at the prosperity of the wicked and my foot almost slipped. Yes, because, these things aren't blessings. Right? Blessings, every good and perfect gift comes from above. Mm-hmm. So if you got something that didn't come from above, then we're not calling that a blessing, right? It's not a blessing, right? If you live a life that's full of wickedness, those things that you have are not from the Most High. You can't sit up here and live a wicked life and sit up here and be the propagator of wickedness with your music and then receive an award and thank Jesus at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Because the Son of the living God didn't have nothing to do with your wicked music that you do.
Right.
But that's what these people are doing. Because they don't understand these simple things like what we just talked about over here in Proverbs chapter 2. There's a then down here. Then you would understand the fear of Yahweh and find a knowledge of Elohim. But first you got to do all this stuff up here, which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Accepting the words, treasuring the commands, having your ear be attending to wisdom, and having your heart be inclined to understanding.
Yeah.
Right? Crying for discernment. Right? It's not even saying to have discernment. It's saying crying for discernment. Like before you get a discernment, you have to get to the place where you've readied yourself to even get to that place.
Right.
What does this word mean? If thou cries after discernment. Kara. Accosting a person. Calling out. Accosting. If you that's like kidnapping something. Accosting. Yeah. If I accosted you, I like took you somewhere. Like there's a process for this stuff. Like it's not something that's just dropping. You're not just like, Most High, let me get some of that discernment you got over there. I need that.
Yeah.
Like you're going through whatever it is, whatever it takes in order to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's interesting that all of these things come with a process. We're in the process of getting to having the fear of Yahweh and the knowledge of Elohim, and each one of these things that he's saying, there's a process that goes with it. Accepting his words, treasuring his commands, having your ear be attendant to his wisdom, inclining your heart to understanding, crying for discernment, lifting up your voice for understanding, seeking her as silver. I ain't never found no silver in my whole life. It's probably hard to find it.
Yeah.
It's probably hard in the mud.
Yeah.
But you sit up here and see these people and they got these little when they like panning for gold and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole process they sitting up there doing when you got the stuff that they looking at and going through it all, sifting it through different levels of
dirt and stuff.
all that stuff. Like it's a process. When you think about what it takes to actually find silver, like you could know where silver's at in the ground and still gotta look hard in order to get to it. Like it's a process. And it's saying you supposed to be seeking wisdom like that.
It's hard to find.
Searching for her as hidden treasures. How many of these little pirate movies you see where these people up here trying to find these hidden treasures? It's a big ordeal to find a hidden treasure. It's not just like, oh, here it is. Wisdom. Got it.
Got it. We're good. We're good.
Done.
Got it. Go.
Got it. That's all the searching you gotta do? Or this? Wisdom.
Done.
Got it.
Yeah.
Discernment. Done.
That's what they think.
That ain't searching for something like silver. That's not finding no hidden treasure. And again, we just talking about the fact that the Most High, all through the scriptures, is dealing with these ideas of these if-thens. How you gonna receive a blessing if you not doing what he said for you to be doing? He said, you're gonna be blessed if you do this. You're gonna be cursed if you do that. When did he switch up?
And it looked like he did, like, as you start with verse 1 and go down, and he's dealing with you in a process. It's like...
It's a process, yeah.
It's like he ain't going to give you level 10 just because you ask. It's like, you don't deserve level 10 just because you ask. You got to get to there. That's an achievement. It's...
Yeah, it's like the black belt.
Yeah.
You don't walk into the dojo and
take a
like,
few classes.
Let me get
It's years. You got years to put in.
Seafood, let me get one of them black belts. I came in here for the black belt.
Yeah.
You start off with like a negative belt.
Yeah.
You start off with just a plain old no color belt and get stripes on it before you even get a color.
Right.
And then who knows how many colors it is before you get all the way up to black.
One weekend, Sensei, I will challenge you. I challenge you to your belt.
It's crazy. And so how much more so do we think that these things that the Most High has for us, these good and wonderful things, that he has for us, that he wants for us to have, he don't hide them from us. He tell us how to get it. But it's not just a open and shut, just quick little thing that you get. It's a process. And then you would understand the fear of Yahweh.
That's why.
Then you'll find the knowledge of Elohim. Go ahead.
That's why the scripture talk about looking to the elders for wisdom, because wisdom takes time.
Yes.
It's supposed to be the process it comes with time and age. So so the race ain't given to the swift.
No. No. It's a race that's a long race. It's not a 100-meter dash, right? It's a marathon. Them people be running the marathons. Them people be passing out at the end of a marathon.
Yeah.
They get to the end and just can't even stand up no more. After they done ran that thing.
They gave it all out there.
Everything. It took everything that they even had, even to do it. I'm saying, unless it be like them Ethiopian people, whoever them be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They get done and they be ready to run another one. But everybody else, they sit up there, they put them little aluminum foils on them or whatever that stuff is. They be having splash of water on their heads. You can't even really drink a whole bunch of water because your body's like in shock.
Yeah.
Like your body literally is in shock from running whatever that is, 26 point whatever miles it is.
Yeah.
After a marathon. But it's a hard, rigorous thing that you do in order to have that achievement. And then how the writer, the apostles, and they're talking about that's what this faith is like. It's not given to the swift, right? It's not given to the one who sit up there and running this 100-meter dash that's over just like that. Like this thing is a long, vigorous trek. Let's see here. We got here. These intangibles require a desire and thirst to receive wisdom, discernment, understanding, just as tangible material gains do. But mastering the intangibles can also lead to tangible blessings. Yes, very good. That's like that was out of the scriptures or something. But these things are all true. And so when we think about what the scripture is telling us when it sits up here and says that the blessing, if you listen to the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, it's not just about okay, I heard what he said. Now where my blessing now? I heard you. I'm a blessing. It's not just that, right? It's all of this other stuff. It's all of this other stuff that leads up to that. And so again, when we look at these scriptures, he's about these if-thens, right? He's not about just dropping this stuff out the sky on you and then everything being all good for you. If-thens is all in the Bible. Let's look at some more if-thens. We got to get off of this thinking, well, Yeshua did it, so I don't have to do it. Don't they be saying that?
All the time.
He did it, so I don't have to do it. That's why he did it, so I don't have to do it. Huh? What? That don't even make any sense.
I thought you said you'll do greater.
Oh my goodness.
Greater works.
Wow. Hey, let's look at this. If-thens. This if-thens all up in this Bible.
He gave an example. He said with them Pharisees, he said, do what they say. Not as they do. Because they wasn't doing it.
That's what he said. Hey, look at this if then right here. 14 and 15.
For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father shall also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses. Excuse me.
You want some forgiveness? How you gonna get it if you ain't forgiving people? He said, if you forgive men their trespasses, then your Father will forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you gonna get your forgiveness, by you forgiving other people. But if you don't forgive the men of their trespasses, he ain't forgiving you. Your forgiveness that you receive is contingent upon you forgiving other people. That's an if-then right there for you. And then you kind of you brought this up, but kind of in a way that people pervert it. But let's look at that one too. Let's see here, Romans 10. People bring perversion to these verses over here, but read verse 9 through 11.
That you confess with your mouth the Master Yeshua and believe in your heart that Elohim has raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. For with the heart one believes unto righteousness, and one confesseth with the mouth, and so is saved. Because the scripture says, whoever puts his trust in him shall not be put to shame.
Mm-hmm. So again, when we think about these things that have to be done so that we can receive these other things. And so again, it's interesting that, some places we can see where it says all you gotta do is believe. And then over here it says that you have to confess and believe. And so, but understanding what belief actually is helps us to understand that it's not just something that's going on inside of your mind. Having an understanding of what these things are, what true faith is knowing that, because this is not something that's separate from what we was looking at over in Proverbs. There is a process even to faith. But I guess I had to have an understanding inside of my heart and inside of my mind, but there also has to be a manifestation of that. If I say that I know that Yeshua is strong enough to carry me, then prove it then. So Moshe sit up here and go to these swimming classes and got the swimming teacher sitting there waiting for Moshe to jump into the water with his hands out. It's the same way it is what we would do with, exhibiting our faith in Yeshua. If he says that he's able to carry you in the water and catch you when you jump into the pool, and you say, I believe you, Master, I believe you. All right, well, jump then. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, jump. Come on, jump. Come on. I believe you. I believe you. But you'll never jump. That's not faith. Faith is jumping in his arms and proving that he can catch you and keep you from drowning. That's what faith is. And so when you sit up here and talk about this belief that could save you, it's not something that's just going on in your mind, because that's not what trust and total confidence is. Trust and total confidence is you're not even thinking about what could potentially happen, because the Master's right there and he said he was going to catch you. Period, point blank. And so again, from a principle standpoint, this if-then thing that we see throughout the scripture is something that goes all the way from the beginning all the way to the end. And if we don't have this, then how can we receive what it is that the master has made available to us? You can't receive it. And so these people that got these ideas that are not based on the entirety of scripture, like the only reason why we understand what this means over here is because we understand who it's coming from. And Yeshua is not saying something other than what the Most High already has said. How does Yeshua come on the scene and he becomes this person who's able to come up with a new way that the Most High exhibits his character? It's the same Elohim that it was the whole time. And he said, if you gonna be with me, then you gonna do what I said. That's in the contemporary version. If you gonna be with me, then you gonna do what I said. What I said actually is good for you. It helps you.
Yeah.
Right? And so that never changed. And so again, when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 11, where it talks about this idea of, you receiving these blessings, if you keep my commandments, you gonna receive these curses if you don't. And so even the way we're looking at this process that's involved in you receiving the blessings, if you don't do these things, that is a process, and then there's a curse that you receive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back over to Deuteronomy over here. Deuteronomy 11. Let's go back to, what was that here? 28. If you do not obey the commands. So even this word here, when we talk about obey the commands, we just gave 3-4 examples how this little word, this little 4-letter word, there's so much that's incorporated in this idea of obeying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's so many things that are incorporated in what it takes to actually obey the commands of the Most High. If you do all of those things, then there will be blessings. But failure to do those things, there's a curse that comes, right? But so I want to look at this over here where it talks about if you do not obey the commands, but turn aside from the way. Turning aside. I want to talk about this idea of turning aside. What is this word here? Somebody cursor here. This word is sur, to turn, to behead. Interesting. Interesting when we think about this figuratively, to behead. Wow. I didn't even see that before. Let's think about the idea of turning. We think about the Most High turning his face towards us. Or us turning our stiff neck, having our neck being stiff so that we're not able to turn towards him. But if we think about the idea of beheading, like that's a total disregard for anything that's even over there. I don't want to look at what the Most High is doing so bad. I'd just rather just take my own head off. To behead.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing.
Wow.
You don't got a head. You just, they said chicken with a head cut off. You be running around.
Wow.
I don't know what's happening.
Wow. And so when we're looking at this over here, right? The idea of to turn aside from the way of these commands, turning aside this idea of beheading yourself, removing your whole head from the situation. You not even just turned away. It's worse than just turning away, right? You done beheaded yourself, right? You've turned. It's the complete opposite. This idea of turning away is the complete opposite of what it is to, to do this up here, to obey, because we're talking about the idea of, faith is steadfastness, right? Faith is firmness and stability, right? I'm being firm in the idea that I'm going to move forward and walk towards and obey the Most High. But if I'm turning away from Him, when I'm ignoring who He is, I'm saying that this is always, turning aside is always an manifestation of idolatry.
And you might as well be beheaded.
You might as well be beheaded, right? Because you've declared in action and in words and deeds, you've declared that the Most High is not, in fact, the Most High.
If you think about it, it's like, the Most High is our head. So if you turn away from the Most High, it's like you just cut your head off.
Yeah, that's literally what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You out here just like
headless.
Like he said, just like a chicken with his head cut off. You out here running around, getting into all things that are literally detrimental to you.
Running into every piece of wickedness. Mm-hmm. Let's get Proverbs 8:36 real quick. Let's go with it. Excuse me. My allergies is so now I'm sneezing and stuff. It's allergy season. So.
I think you got COVID.
Okay.
COVID's dead. Remember?
Yeah, right. We got it. What did I say? 36.
Proverbs 8:36.
Yeah, but he who sins against me injures himself. All who hate me love death.
Oh my goodness. You love death? But it's interesting that the things that we affirm when we don't live a life according to the Most High. Over here, we affirm the fact that we hate life and we love death if we turn away from the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
We affirm the fact that we enjoy injuring ourselves
Yeah.
when we sin against the Most High. What was you going to say?
I was going to say, everywhere I've seen it, it's been this. It's everywhere
right here.
I see the people sinning, they're injuring themselves.
Yeah.
Everywhere I seen where they hate the Most High, it's nothing but death.
You love death.
Love it. You don't got no.
And there's nothing that you can't even argue the fact. Because the scriptures is helping us to understand. Your actions is helping us understand. If the Most High is in fact life,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't follow after Him who is life, then you obviously hate life and love death.
Yep.
Because why you with death and not with life? That's what it is,
You
right?
cut your own head off because you don't want to listen. You don't want to listen. You don't want to be obedient. You cutting your head off. Spiritually.
Yeah.
Groping in the noonday. Hear that thing's bad for you, you can see it, but you go do it anyway because you cut your head off. You don't got no wisdom.
Wow.
You walk right to it and do it, and then be crying when you got to suffer the consequence.
And so when we think about all of this, we think about this idea of turning aside. We think about this idea of loving death and hating the Most High. Again, these are acts of idolatry because you've said that the Most High is in fact not the Most High, and whatever it is that you're sitting up here chasing instead of the Most High obviously is. That's your God.
Yep.
Whatever thing you're chasing, because you're not chasing the Most High, whatever that thing is that you said means more, has more influence, is more important than him, you've made that thing your idol. It might just be you. It might not even be a thing. It's just you and your understanding with your wicked heart. Right? Because, the heart is, wicked. Right?
Is it desperately or?
It's desperate. It's not only just wicked. It's desperately wicked.
Yeah. That's all it knows.
And so, when we get to the place where we're not treating Yah as Elohim, when we're putting these other things in front of him, right? When we're not obeying his commands, we're begging actually for curses.
Exactly.
Please just curse me is what we're doing.
Walking from one to the next.
Can I please just have a curse on me? Is
Yeah.
what we're saying when we're not obeying the Most High. Because he already said, if you obey me, there's nothing but blessings. If you don't obey me, there's curses. They're coming. And so, if I tell you, if you do A, B, C, then this is what you'll get. And if you do E, F, and G, then this is what you get. So if I'm not doing one, and you got to do one or the other.
Yeah.
There's no middle. Is right or left. It's up or down.
They think there's a middle.
It's in or out.
They think there's a middle.
There's no middle. It's one or the other. And so if you're not doing one, then you're doing the other by default. If I'm not obeying, then I'm disobeying.
Right.
And here come the curses.
He said what? This is what? Because this would be considered knowledge, right? I would consider this knowledge, right?
What,
The word.
Oh,
the
yeah.
word in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
His word. But he said, my people are what? Destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You ain't want to listen. I try to tell you how to make your life work. You ain't want to listen.
My cousin once said to me that, he can't be held accountable for what he don't know. That's why he don't want to know.
No,
Wow.
See?
Wow.
You might, well, good luck then.
He can't be held accountable?
That's what
Interesting.
He's like, yeah, that's, you can't, somebody who's ignorant, you can't
Wow.
hold them accountable. He's like, that's why I'm going to just stay ignorant.
He willingly.
And he's talking about the Bible. He ain't talking about
The
like
Bible
ignorant
says
in the world. Well, no. He's not saying that the Bible says
He
that.
don't want to know the Bible.
He don't want to know because he don't want to be held accountable
Right.
once he knows.
I know, but where did he get that idea from? That I can't be held accountable for what I don't know.
There was some scripture he was twisting and turning.
I'd love to see that scripture. Somebody please put that scripture in the comments.
Probably that one about the servant that knew and didn't do.
Conscientious stupidity.
The one that didn't know was beat with fewer stripes. But the one who knew a lot was beat with more stripes.
They both got beat though.
That's the only one that he could possibly be pulling out.
They both got
Because
beat.
most eyes still going to judgment day, everybody gonna be judged. So there's no exemption form you could sign to get out of judgment.
And I feel like the fewer stripes is relative to the greater stripes. Like
Yeah.
the fewer stripes, I'm saying that the fewer stripes is just the standard amount. That's what you gonna get.
Right.
But the more stripes is going over and above what you would already gonna get because of the fact that you knew more.
Right. I agree.
Not to say that you're getting less. You're getting less relative to the one that's getting more than you. But everybody getting the same death.
You still getting the stripes.
You just get more death.
Right.
Death on top of death. Because of the knowledge.
And you lowering your chance of making it to the book of life. No. You willingly taking yourself out, blotting yourself out.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and it doesn't make any sense the way that people operate who say that they follow after the God of the book. Because of the fact that people kind of have this understanding of the Most High based on when I look at this whole thing, I don't know if you can visualize this or not. Let me put my camera up here. If this can be shown. Here goes the so-called new. It's this amount. And then the so-called old is this amount. Like it's most of the book is the so-called old.
It's like 3 times as big.
And then the so-called new is this little part right here. And so the we get to understand who the Most High is from this part. And then over here we seeing like this small little portion. Like it don't even really, you can't even know the character of the Most High from this because it's not the context of the stuff that's there.
It's like the new part is how to walk out because of the results of the old part.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna understand why Yeshua walked the way he did if you don't know that old part.
Because it's not talked about. It's not talked about. It's just a given. Like he does things that are just like a given that you would understand if you had this part already. But it's not dealing with, like, people sit up here and talk about, well, he mentioned all of these other commands, but he didn't never mention the Sabbath, for instance. And so they say because he never said keep the Sabbath, then you don't gotta keep it. Because he never mentioned it. But I'm saying that he never said that you wasn't supposed to do it. So therefore, based on my understanding of the fat part of the book, based on that understanding, I know that how could he do away with it? He would have to literally say that the thing is not something that we should be doing in order for me to do it. Yeah. Just the simple fact that he don't talk about it don't mean that he's saying do away with it.
He didn't talk about it specifically, but he said, if you love me, keep my commandments.
Right, but I'm saying that the only reason why you are incorporating all those things together is because you got the foundation of the fat part.
Exactly.
And you already know what that means.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But these other people who just got the skinny part,
Yeah.
to them, they just want to hear the commandments of Christ, the things that he verbalized, and don't think about the things that's a given that's already there, that he never changed.
Right.
But since he didn't never speak on it, but in the context of who the Most High is, he don't operate like that.
Right.
Because he said, if you follow my commandment, because not doing it will be not following his commandments, which brings about a curse for you.
It would be not following him. Because he said, follow me. And what did he do?
That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did. And so when we look at these people who come up with these things, they're not understanding what it is that the Most High has already said in the way that he, puts forth the things that he wants for us to be doing. When we think about the laws, statutes, and commands of the Most High, again, this is his character. And so we need to be able to understand that when we're doing his commandments, we're walking out his character. And so it don't make sense for him to have said or have authorized anyone to operate outside of his character. Okay, so let us look at let's look at Hebrews. Let's look at Hebrews, because you brought up an interesting scripture when we talked about the fact these people getting few and many stripes. Here, let's look at this verse here. Let's look at Hebrews 10 and read for us. Hold on, let me put this over here. Read verses 26 and 27.
For if we sin purposely after we have received the knowledge of the truth.
Hold on. Read. What I say?
26, 27.
Oh, yeah. That's right. My fault. Go ahead.
For if we sin purposely after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a slaughter offering for sins. But okay, I just want to make sure I didn't read that. But some fearsome anticipation of judgment and of fierce fire, which is about to consume the opponents.
Yes, very good. And so, when we think about this idea of purposefully sinning after we've received the knowledge of the truth.
I'll keep you posted.
It's interesting. This is another one of these if-then situations. If we have had a genuine experience with the Most High in terms of having a knowledge of who he is, and having an understanding of his character, and then yet and still sin on purposefully, it said, then that's it for us. That's it for that one. There's no longer a slaughter offering for sins for that person. They're done. They receive a fierce fire.
That's scary.
And so when we think about this, again, it just goes along with this idea of walking in his commands, continually being obedient to the Most High. Because when we turn aside, this is somebody turning aside who's known the Most High, and then they cut their head off after.
Yeah.
You can't put the head back on. Unless it's Frankenstein or something. Don't go back on.
Right.
And the Most High, and what these people got to understand is that the Most High is who he is. And he always going to be who he always been. As simple as that. What did it say over here? Let's see, verse 6 and 7.
For I'm Yahweh, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. This is Malachi. I don't know. From the days of your fathers, you have turned aside from my laws and did not guard them. Turn back to me, and I shall turn back to you, said Yahweh of hosts. But you said, in what shall we turn back?
When we think about who the Most High is, he always was wanting for his people to live a certain way. If you turn away from him, he was going to turn away from you. He wants to be with you, and he wants you to be with him, but on his terms. We don't make the terms. He make the terms. I love you, Father, but why I got to sit up here and do this X, Y, Z? I'm going to just do it like this because this is what I feel comfortable with. That sounds crazy even speaking it, right? But he always wants for his people to manifest his character and to do his laws, statutes, and commands. What happens when we look up, what is saying in Isaiah chapter 40? Most High don't change. He stay the same. I can't see these little words here. Isaiah 40, verse 8.
Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the word of Elohim stands forever.
The word of Elohim stands only until Yeshua comes.
You know, forever.
Say, everything is forever except for whenever Yeshua gets here, then he changes everything. That said, that his word stands forever. So the way that he wants for us to be living in the fat part of the book is the same way that he wants for us to be living in the skinny part. You know, when we understand what the spirit inside of us moves for us to be doing, it helps us to understand. When we think about the spirit of the law, you know, understanding what it is that the letter of the law is asking of us, right? And we have to understand that, you know, we, from a literal standpoint, can't be doing a lot of the things from a literal standpoint. But from a principle standpoint, these laws, statutes, and commands were meant to cause us to behave, to act, to do things in a particular way. And as far as that goes, you know, these things, they stand forever. And so, you know, we have to understand that, you know, this is he's always been about this if then thing, right? There's always going to be a way that we need to be living, and there's always going to be consequences for those who don't live according to those ways. Okay, let's go back to Deuteronomy. I want to kind of start working our way out of here. Let's go back over to what we see over here in Deuteronomy 12 is read verse 2 for us.
Completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are displacing serve their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree.
Okay, so let's see. Let's see verse 2. These. Where's our word here? It's gonna be.
See, that's exactly why I know that you don't have any understanding of what's going on.
high mountains, the hills, and under the green trees. Hold on, is it in verse 2? Hold on. Oh, my fault. It's in verse 3. My fault. Read verse 3.
You shall break down their slaughter places, and smash their pillars, and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down their carved images of their mighty ones, and shall destroy their name out of that place.
Okay, so we've seen this before, when Moses talks about going into the land and people, and destroying all of these places, burning down these groves, as it says in some translations over here, groves, Asherim, Ashereh, which means happy, which is Ashtart, Phoenician goddess, which, we follow that out. You see Ishtar or Easter. But these groves, he's saying go in there and burn these things down to the ground. These high places. These places where the people that was there worship these false gods. This land is a holy land, and he didn't want for the people to go in there and just start serving him, even in these places where these false gods were served, with the the residue of all of this idolatry, even if they was worshiping him. I remember looking at this place that was up north a little bit from Pittsburgh. The piece of land was a decent price, and there's a building there that came with the land, for this decent price. Building, it was secluded, it was wonderful, except for the fact that it was a Buddhist temple. There was this like a little funny little statues and stuff all over the place and out in the front of it. I don't know if you could you repurpose a Buddhist temple?
You gotta tear that down. You gotta tear that down.
Gotta raise it.
And so, it was something that just came and went just because of the simple fact that it just caused me to think about this. He wanted for the people to go in there and tear these things down, just because he can't have these remnants of things in his holy place where he's having for his people to be worshiping him. But the problem is, though, when we go further down, like this is Israel, before we get there. When you get there, go in there and do this, right? But when we look over, if we go over to Jeremiah, it's interesting. Jeremiah 17. Here, hold on, let me put this over here. Start reading for us at verse 1 right there.
So the sin of Yehuda is written with a pen of iron, engraved with the point of a diamond on the tablet of your heart and on the horns of your slaughter places. While their children remember their slaughter places and their asherim by the spreading trees on the high hills.
This is Jeremiah, so this is years later, right? Jeremiah was like a Babylonian captivity prophet. You talking hundreds of years after the fact. And so he says that why we still talk about these Asherim over here? Because these things should have been taken down. These things should have been taken down way back whenever the Most High said for them to be taken down over there. But it's interesting that we see over here what's happening. Because the Most High being the same who never changed, it's going to be consequences for those that do not do his commands, right? The sin of Yahudah is written with a pen of iron, engraved with the point of a diamond on the tablet of your heart. There ain't no turning around from this here thing. This is a curse that's coming upon you that you gonna feel. He said it's written with a pen of iron, engraved with the point of a diamond on the tablet of your heart and on the horns of your slaughter places. So this is something that's touching you to the depths of your soul and on the horns of your slaughter places. Out here in these groves that I said, that the Most High said that you was supposed to get out of here to begin with. This ain't nothing but some curses that's getting on you as a result of disobedience. Still, same Most High, doing it the same way he always did.
Make it contemporary. Got your pig at the Thanksgiving table. Praying. Everybody hold hands. Oh, we got all these abominations. Let's hold hands. You know what I mean? You gotta pray about it. You know, get Christmas tree
pigs,
and all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sitting up here taking these. How many churches you walk in December that got a Christmas
straight
tree?
up Christmas tree up in there. I'm
Like, it don't make any sense.
Nobody read the book of Jeremiah up in there?
It's crazy.
Oh, they just got the New Testament. This is Jesus' birthday. What you mean?
And so how do you take all of these things when you're dealing with the Most High, who he sees all of this stuff and he never changed? And these people that he said was his firstborn Israel, he's taken out a pen of iron and engraving with the point of a diamond on the tablets of their hearts, but he ain't doing nothing to you with your Christmas tree in your churches, though. And he paying attention to all your things all your prayers that you send up. He listening to them. Meanwhile, these people that you sit up here and say that you have replaced, they do the same thing. And he's taking out a pen of iron engraved with the point of a diamond and writing on the tablets of their hearts and on the place where they put their slaughter offerings on. That's what you call a delusion right there. Here, keep on reading verse 3.
My mountain in the field I gave as plunder, your wealth, all your treasures, your high places of sin throughout all your borders, and you, even yourself, shall let go of your inheritance which I gave you, and I shall make you serve your enemies in the land which you have not known, for you have kindled a fire in my displeasure which burns forever.
That's curses. That's curses for disobedience. He been doing that. You keep on. Oh, talk with verse 5.
Yeah, thus said Yahweh, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart turns away from Yahweh.
Hold on. Is that? I wonder if that's our word again. That's it right there. That's our word. That's our beheaded word. Cuts his own head off.
Cut your head off.
Okay, so here we see, cursed is the man who trusts in the man and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart turns from away from Yahweh. This is just status quo. Most High doing what he always do. If thens all over the place. Oh, what a comment say over here? Mixing the unholy with the holy, just as blessing and cursing from the same mouth. Yes, very good. Exactly. Okay, start reading again at verse 6.
It says, for he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and not see when good comes, and shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, a salt land that is not inhabited.
Curses. That's curses for the disobedient ones. That's curses for the ones who is, not following after the Most High and having this mixed worship. And then verse 7.
It says, blessed is the man who trusts in Yah, and who trusts in, and whose trust is Yahweh.
And again, when we think about this idea of trust, what this is talking about, this ain't Moshe standing at the edge of the pool, not jumping in. This over here is faith, right? This over here is, this says trust, confident, sure, secure, hope, trust, right? And so this is more than just some mental thing that's going on in your mind. This is, what's this say? What's this word hope here? Hope. Mibtach. Refuge. Security. Assurance. Confidence. Hope. Sure. Trust. Okay, keep on going. Verse 8.
It says, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and does not see the heat when the heat comes. And his leaf shall be green, and in the year of his drought he is not anxious, nor does he cease from yielding fruit.
That's blessing.
Yeah.
That's blessing for the one who trusts in the Most High. Curse when you don't, bless when you do. Every time. He never changed. He's still doing the same thing as what he talked about all the way back there in Deuteronomy chapter 12. Chapter 11.
Yeah.
Same thing. Hold on, what verse 9 say?
It says, the heart is crooked above all and desperately wicked. Who shall know it?
Yeah, that's what we said that earlier. Right, keep on going.
It says, I, Yahweh, search the heart, and I try the kidneys, and give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds.
Right. Whether you're doing his commands or whether you're not doing his commands. Whether you're walking in his ways or you're not walking according to his ways. That's what's going to be the determining factor what you get. Whether it's blessings or whether it's cursings. Just like he always been saying. Okay, keep on going. Read 11.
As a partridge that broads but does not hatch, so is he who gets riches, but not by right. It leaves him in the midst of his days, and at his end he is a fool.
When you think about a bird that has eggs and they don't hatch, like it's a total waste of time. That bird sat up there and it sat on them eggs, and it sat on there and it provided the warmth for them eggs in that nest, and it tried to do everything that it could do for them little eggs for it not to hatch. It's just like the one who gets riches but's not walking in righteousness. It's the same thing. You sat up here and you built up this egg and it never hatched because you lived a life of unrighteousness. Not to say that somebody who is, see, this ain't just talk about riches, right? Because somebody who's walking in righteousness can acquire riches. It's saying, so he who get riches, but not by right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to be able to make the distinction here. That's the one who his end is as a fool. Because all the stuff that he sat up there and worked and did to amass all of these things that he got, at the end of the day is still wickedness, is still disobedience, and curses is what he receives.
That brought to my mind real quick. What's his name in the news? Man, I ain't even looking for it. I guess it's been blown up. But Kanye West. I've been hearing what's going on with him, but he get, whatever it is, his wife is running around doing crazy things and got his kids on the internet looking like they worshiping the devil and stuff. And but he looking like a fool. He might have $1 billion or whatever, but he's still looking like a fool in his life. He ain't happy. All that money, it don't bring happiness when there's wickedness all around you. You know?
Yeah.
Because the ways of the Most High is going to always be true. Mm-hmm. People could sit up here and, if they follow a simple formula, you're able to, if you got money, you can make money. If you buy into the economic system and work it the way that it's supposed to be worked, you're going to benefit. But it's not going to bring you happiness.
Right.
It's not going to cause you to be a whole human being. I mean, complete when I say whole. There's nothing that can cause you to be WHOLE, whole, outside of the Most High.
Yep.
And so, people think they're going to find happiness in resources. It's not happiness, it's resources. Right? It's money. You're going to be able to do things, but you're not going to be able to heal the hole that's in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, looking at this here, let's read down to 18 on this. Verse 12.
It says, "An esteemed throne, exalted from the beginning, is the place of our set-apart place. O Yahweh, the expectation of Israel, all who forsake you are put to shame. Those who depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken Yahweh, the fountain of living waters. Heal me, O Yahweh, so that I am healed. Save me, so that I am saved, for you are my praise. See, they say to me, where is the word of Yahweh? Let it come now. And I have not run away from being a shepherd who follows you, nor have I longed for the desperately sick day. You yourself have known that which came out of my lips was before you. Do not be a ruin to me. You are my shelter in the day of evil. Let these who persecute me be put to shame, but do not let me be put to shame. Let them be broken, but do not let me be broken. Bring on them the day of evil and destroy them with double destruction."
It's interesting that we see over here curses and blessings. Curses on those, that persecute me, the writer over here, who is, by the way, a prophet of the Most High. So we can assume that he's living a life that's according to the will and the ways of the Most High. But those that are against him are going to be against the Most High. And he's saying, put them to shame. Don't put me to shame.
Mm-hmm.
I'm following after your ways. Break them. Let them be broken, those people. But don't break me, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm following after your ways. He said he put a curse on them. Bring on them the day of evil and destroy them with double destruction. He pronounced the curse on those that are persecuting him. But understanding that the ones that are persecuting him are persecuting the mouthpiece of the Most High. And so, just kind of closing out over here, thinking about this idea of blessings and cursings, having an understanding that, we have to be able to govern, tame our tongues, because these things that we speak are, in fact, meaningful. And also understanding that, the Most High, of course, has a way for us to be and live. And, we're going to be blessed as a result of walking in this way. But we can't, be like the ones that Yeshua spoke of, in his woes, the scribes and the Pharisees, who were these people were visibly holy in these positions of quote unquote holiness, but the way in which that they lived their lives was hypocritical, right? And so we have to always remember that there's blessings that go with us walking in the character of the Most High, but we have to be sure to actually walk in the character of the Most High, because not doing that, like we spoke about, there's not a middle place.
Mm-hmm.
There's not this place that we could be that's not right and that's not wrong. It's either one or the other. And when we get into that zone of the other, that there's going to be curses that come as a result of it.
Because you got to fight to be on the right side anyway.
Yeah, it's a fight, and that's something else that we saw, that it's a fight and it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to be about that fight.
If you ain't fighting, then you giving yourself over to looking.
Yeah, you're accepting it and you're loving it.
Yeah.
All these things that we saw. If you're not fighting this fight that we're in, if you're not running the race, you're losing.
Yeah. Giving up.
If you're not fighting, you're getting beat up.
I don't want to know how to better myself. Keep that to yourself. All right? I want to be how I am.
Yeah.
You gave up.
Yeah, exactly. What's this? Jeremiah 17:18 reflects Deuteronomy 12:3-4. Yeah. And it's just a natural fact, that we have to understand that these things are things that correspond with each other, right? That we have to not have a life that's showing forth, confusion and gray areas. Right? We got to be about black or white. Gray is whichever way you say is right, black or white.
Yeah.
Well, gray.
You don't know still.
It got to be one or the other. It got to be right or wrong, right? It can't be a mixture, because the mixture is going to get you in the bad side, which is curses.
Still confusion,
Yeah, and the Most High, he's not the author of confusion, right? Okay, so that is what I wanted to deal with today, dealing with these ideas of blessings and cursings. Of course, there's more to be said about blessings and cursings. We'll see as we go later on in the book. But for now, if anybody has any last comments?
Moral of the story, or at least the moral of this lesson, you choose whether you want to be blessed or cursed. It's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your choice.
It's a choice that you got to make, and there's an action that you got to take.
Yep.
You could go ahead and put that in your next one right there. You can put that. You can have that one. Okay. All right. That being said, we will say for now, thanks everybody for their comments and contributions to the conversation over here. Y'all willing, next week we will be back. Remember to share the video, hit the like button, let people know, we were over here on the channel over here. Hit that notification button so that you can know when the new videos is coming out. And y'all willing, we will be back on next week to continue with our look at Deuteronomy. Until then, we will say Shabbat Shalom.
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 Shabbat Shalom.